Hello, all my fabulous thinkers. It's Thinkafurr here once again with another theory, another thought trail, another wild story to share of what could be if we let our imaginations run wild. In today's video, I aim to shift our perspectives laterally and attempt with as much canon evidence as possible with some references from other theories to illuminate just how possible, if not to potentially confirm, the Tetraforce theory. So, without further ado, let the tangent begin. Okay, so let's talk about the Tetraforce theory. The theory is the idea that a fourth triangle in the Triforce exists or existed at one point, representing a fourth goddess. Now, Nintendo has denied this theory plenty of times, however there is plenty of evidence that contradicts their denial, or dare I say it, cover up. For a start, let's clarify two important points of this theory before going any further. Firstly, the fourth goddess, represented by the missing piece, is theorized as the goddess of time. Secondly, as the fourth goddess is the goddess of time, the fourth Triforce piece most likely is the Triforce of time. Now, with those two main points in hand, let's break this theory down and look at the evidence. In Skyward Sword, Demise is theorized to represent one of the three main goddesses, Din. Looking closely at Demise himself, or rather, his name, the literal definition of demise in English means to perish, among other definitions, but I'll save those for another time. Where this definition refers to death is where I draw relevance, as the inspiration for the name choice most likely stems back to the Japanese origins of the game's development, as its dev team is Japanese. When we look at the character she in Japanese, it translates to death and the number 4. Perhaps the reason for the attribution to the number 4 is a hint towards his disdain of the fourth goddess. Perhaps he was given the name because he was the counterpart of Hylia, where time spans on and on. Demise represents the end, death, and emptiness. He is the true antithesis to Hylia, or rather, the ends of it all, a great void of nothingness at the ends of time. Now, moving on. In Ocarina of Time, the Hylian shield has 3 triangles at the top of the shield representing the 3 goddesses. Then, at the center of them is a bird, the owl Gaiboro, followed by a 4th triangle pointing downwards. Now, let's take this and apply it geographically to what relates within the areas of Ocarina of Time that are most relevant. By lining up the locations where Link receives the powers of the 3 goddesses in each cave, and the locations to that of where we first meet Gaiboro, and lastly but not least, Lake Hylia, named after the goddess Hylia herself, look what we find. Amazingly, the locations of each cave containing the powers of Din's Fire, Faeror's Wind, and Nehru's Love are lined up on top, just like the Hylian shield, followed by the location in Hyrule Field where we first meet the Wise Owl, lines up within the middle between the 3 goddesses' areas and that of Lake Hylia, just like the 4th triangle at the bottom of the shield. Furthering this interesting discovery is the symbol of the Gorons. As we can see, it contains 3 smaller points with a 4th and larger point at the center. Yet again, we see reference to the number 4. 4 triangles on the shield, 4 goddesses, 4 places on the map of Hyrule, and 4 points on the symbol of the Gorons. But no one carrying this elusive 4th piece of the Triforce, or is there? Also, on a side note, why are the 3 goddesses always both symbolically and geographically separated from the goddess Hylia, and held on a higher position of worship to that of Hylia in the land of Hyrule? Perhaps this question will be answered later. For now, let's turn our attention back to who it is that may carry this so-called 4th piece of the Tetraforce. See, we know this much. Link has the Triforce of Courage associated to Faeror, Zelda has the Triforce of Wisdom associated to Nehru, and Ganondorf has the Triforce of Power associated with Din. Who then would have our theorized 4th piece, the Triforce of Time? Well, how about this as food for thought? In Majora's Mask, we see three goddesses no longer being worshipped, but instead the goddess of time predominantly worshipped, as we see indicated by the massive clock tower among other references, such as Tattle directly asking for help from the goddess of time, and the fact there is a complete absence of the three goddesses in Termina. Notice that Link is essentially caught within an endless time loop until he succeeds in retrieving Majora's Mask and returning it to the Happy Mask salesman. Now, every single time Link fails, the moon crashes down or Link just dies, we get the cutscene with the Happy Mask salesman's words, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" We also begin again at the clock tower where the Mask salesman is located. Notice that he is able to summon a giant piano, an instrument out of seemingly nowhere, followed by his own use of a Song of Healing, a powerful song used to heal tormented souls, of which create masks containing their souls and powers. Also, coincidentally happens to be traveling both Termina and Hyrule. What if the Happy Mask salesman is the hero of Termina and possesses the Triforce of Time, however lacked the power of the Triforce of Courage, and that is why he needed Link, the hero of Hyrule, to defeat Majora and save Termina. This makes a lot of sense if we look at Termina from the perspective of the multiverse theory. Making reference to a theory widely spoken about across the internet, there is an idea that Lorule is actually Termina prior to its downfall, where in one universe existed Lorule. In this place, the Triforce was destroyed by Hilda, the reincarnation of Hylia. Then, accordingly, the three goddesses Din, Nehru, and Ferror diverged away from Hylia, recreating Hyrule, a world where the Triforce was culturally revered commonly across the races, seen more as an object maintaining the balance of Hyrule, rather than its main use being some great wish-making item, and destroying it was commonly understood as a huge no-no. Then, in retrospect, because the reincarnation of the Goddess of Time destroyed the Triforce in Lorule, this, among other things, led to its downfall, leading it to become Termina, a terminal world with one fate which was to end. Adding to this, the other goddesses had forsaken the realm of Termina, as they did not agree with the destruction of the Triforce, leaving only the Goddess of Time to maintain it. Of course, the four giants tried to help where they could, however ultimately the power of the Triforce of Courage was needed in order to restore balance. This is why, in Hyrule, we see a separation, a rift, a divide between the three goddesses and the fourth goddess, Hylia, in nearly all aspects, from the symbols we see to the locations of each goddess, and how the three goddesses are both geographically and symbolically located both in line with one another, as well as positioned higher than Hylia also. Now, let's get hypothetical for a moment. Backtracking to the events of Majora's Mask, when Termina had reached a critical point and maintaining order was too difficult to manage using just the power of time alone, the Mask salesman created a time loop. Why? He knew Termina's time was running out and could not be maintained forever with the powers of the Triforce of Time alone, so when Link had stumbled across Termina, he knew Link with the Triforce of Courage was his only chance to save Termina, ending the time loop and restoring balance to it once more with the powers of Ferror. Link, being the representation of Ferror, would spread her winds, giving new life to the world that was ready to die. And with that, my thinkers, we have gathered enough canonical evidence to suggest that the Tetraforce, with its elusive fourth piece, may truly exist within the Mask Salesman as the Triforce of Time. Regardless, it's still only thought and script on paper, and lore can be subject to one's own interpretations. With that in mind, my thinkers, I'm all out of time, and sadly I don't have an ocarina to travel back and add to this video, so it's time to roll the outro screen for now. These are just my thoughts from me to you. If you like the theory, leave a like and subscribe for more future content. Also, as a student of thought, I'd encourage all you fabulous thinkers to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm gonna relax now, pick up that controller, and get back into gaming as Christafurr now. Hope you all enjoyed. Bye!